8 minutes past 7 here on the Big Sports Breakfast. We're coming to you live from Twin Creeks Golf and Country Club. We've got day one of the AV Jennings New South Wales Open, and we've got former PGA Tour winner, two-time President's Cup player, Pete Lonard, with us to start the show from 7 o'clock. Welcome, Pete.
Morning, guys. Great to be here.
Just up the road from where you were born and played a lot of your golf too, so it's almost like a home game for you.
Yes, not far from Oatlands. It was a bit of a drive from the city, though, this morning, I've got to say. But, early up, now that I'm a old man, I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and, so it's not that big a deal. I'm ready to play and we'll see how we go. Beautiful day.
How often and how many tournaments are you playing in Australia now?
Well, funny enough, the seniors have had a bit of have taken off in around Australia, so I played a fair few of them this year, probably played 30, 40 tournaments there, and then played a few of the kids' ones. I went over to Perth in May and June and actually did the Pro-Am circuit there. I played a week with the seniors and then did probably 7 weeks with the kids. And, we worked all the way up to Broome and Port Hedland, played a few Sand Greens courses, and it was good. Took the family. It was great fun.
So the body must be still in good shape.
It's reasonable. It's manageable. Yeah. So, I probably can't practice as much as I used to, and definitely long flights and travelling like that, puts a bit of hard work on it. But, overall, I'm pretty good.
What about a couple of days ago? You won the Pro-Am, the BMW Pro-Am there at Sylvania. That must have been good coming in to a tournament like this, or do you sort of go, look, totally different course, different setup, it's just a fresh canvas every time you play around?
Well, I suppose you've got to work fresh canvas because every course is different, but, the last probably 2 months I've really practiced hard and, trying to get ready for these tournaments. Obviously, these tournaments are another step up from, what Pro-Am sort of golf. The fields are far deeper, the scores are far better. So, all in all, I think I'm playing pretty good. Okay. I'm probably a little on the short side compared to some of these kids now. They really move the ball quite a lot. But hopefully the last 30 years I've worked out some ways to get around the course, and hopefully I can implement them over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Next 3 or 4 weeks.
One thing I've learned about you, Pete, and that's after doing some stuff with Golf New South Wales and around the New South Wales Open, was the ferocious appetite you had for practice during your time as a full professional. Where did that come from? Where was the motivation you found? Where you found you had to practice harder than everyone else?
I think it came from when I became a trainee. I didn't really play any amateur golf, so. When I turned trainee, I was probably 17 years old, and I thought I was all right, pretty good. And I actually played with a guy called Kenny Trimble at the Australian Trainee Championships, and in the last round of one of those tournaments. And after I finished, I realised I wasn't very good. Right. So, I think the first hole he hit a wedge into it, and I hit a 2-iron, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to find a coach, and I found a coach. And I suppose through those early years, I just had enough money to survive. I didn't have enough money to sit back.
Yeah.
So it was a really good lesson for me in the long run that the more I worked, the more money I made, the next step up I got. And it was just a progression, and it took forever. But, I enjoyed the practice, which number one. Some guys play golf all the time and don't practice. I was more of a practicer, and I'd play golf probably 4 times a week.
Yep. What's your career look like now, Pete? How long do you spend home? How long do you spend over in Europe? Do you still travel over to America and play?
Yeah, this year, we had a little surprise a couple of years ago, so I got a beautiful little daughter, so life's changed there a little bit, so I've spent a lot more time at home this year. Yep. Pretty much, I only went to Europe for probably 3 or 4 weeks. Probably next year I'll probably go to Europe for probably try and string out 6 weeks or 7 weeks, and then, or maybe a couple of months, and then maybe do a few tournaments in America on the way home. But it's it's all Monday qualifying and stuff for the seniors tour over there. There's only 4 spots, so you got to turn up and play well just to get in.
And I think that's the thing that I've learned just from reading about that. Can I call it a divide? Because I think golf, and I think, how good. Millions of dollars.
Sounds glamorous.
All the prize money. But the younger blokes, and for those that aren't on that big tour, it's actually a lot of expenditure from yourself to get you around the world, to get your places. And if you're not having that success of making cuts or getting in that top 10, it can be
challenging,
spending more than you're making.
Yeah, easy. It's it's one of those things where once you get into the major tours in the world, you can make really good money really quickly. But the 5 or 10 years, apart from the really gifted guys, that it takes to get there, you're probably running at a loss and, running on the smell of an oily rag the whole time and, just trying to survive. And then, number one, you've got to be gifted. Number two, you've got to be able to just be at the right place at the right time that gets you into certain tournaments, and then it sort of snowballs. And, through my career, I was probably lucky whenever I needed something to happen, it probably happened. And whether that was good management or good luck, who knows? I played with some kids that are unbelievable that have never done any good, and I thought they'd be world beaters. And I played with some kids that I think are okay, but not great, and they've gone on to be fantastic golfers. So it's a lottery.
Do you mentor any kids? And if so, what would be the advice you give to those young up-and-coming golfers?
Because we're always in different spots, it's really hard to see, like I'd love to coach some younger fellas, but, they're always away and I'm always going to, so it's really difficult. And they also, kids now, by the time they get to this sort of stage, they've all got their coaches, and, coaches are pretty protective of their guys, so, you start telling them swing stuff, the coaches are going, well, that's all rubbish or whatever. So, you've got to be really careful in that sort of thing. I think the beauty of when you first start, particularly sponsorship-wise and that, if you've got just enough money to survive, that's far better because you've still got to play to make money as opposed to having a big contract or big money supporting you where it's easy because you can sit back on your heels a bit and
make you hungry.
You've got to be hungry and you got to want to do it, and you've got to be, when you in the middle of nowhere and nobody and you're having dinner in some pub, wherever, you've got to want to be there, because if you don't want to be there, it'll affect your golf in the long run. And of course, you've got to have a family or support group that wants you to go well as well, because if you have anybody pulling the strings in the other direction, whether it be girlfriends or whatever, it's a really hard life.
Hey, Pete, a couple of weeks' time, we've got the President's Cup being played down at Royal Melbourne. It's going to be fantastic. You had the opportunity to play 2 President's Cup. What was that like, playing in that team environment?
Well, that was an incredible experience. The first one I played was in a course called Fancourt in South Africa. Gary Player was our captain at the time, and Jack Nicklaus was the captain of the other team. You get to spend the week with, Vijay Singh and Ernie Els and all those guys. And, it was just an incredible experience. You met Nelson Mandela and all these guys, and then the next, the following year, 2 years later, we'd play at Washington. You're having dinner at the White House and all this sort of stuff, which was, off the charts. And at the time when you're playing, you don't really think much about it. Yeah. But when you actually look back at it, you go, geez, I wish I probably should have taken more notice and, enjoyed it a little more.
Yeah. With the President's Cup, we had Gowie on the last couple of weeks, and he was suggesting that the Americans actually might struggle a lot because of their way they set their courses up and because our courses are much harder and faster. Is that something who has played over, all around the world? How do you come back and, obviously you grow up here and you know how to play it, but do you reckon they will struggle?
Well, I suppose it depends, how they are mentally, if they want to be here or not. They're a great team on paper. They can play anywhere, British Open Championships and, US Opens. The thing about Royal Melbourne is it can get really windy. The wind can change directions quite often. 4 seasons in a day, that sort of stuff. And also, the fringes of the greens, if you miss the green on the wrong side and it's hard and bouncy, the ball bounces 50 yards away. So that's the unusual part compared to America. Normally American greens are surrounded by rough and the ball just misses the green. It stops within 10 yards. They hit a big flop shot onto the green and off they go. So, I think the bounce of the course is the thing that's going to give particularly the Australians and the South Africans advantage, because that's sort of courses that they play regularly. But they are playing probably the best paper on, best team on paper in the world that they've put together for a while. So, they're going to be hard to beat.
So you think this is the strongest American team in the last couple of Presidents'
I reckon they're a pretty good team if they're actually together. Like if they want to be there and they,
Are you saying that sometimes they don't all want to be together? There's too many personalities, egos?
I think possibly that has been definitely something that's happened in the Ryder Cup over the past few years. It's getting close to Christmas. They've played a full season. Not that, they're probably playing 15, 20 tournaments a year. My full season was 40 tournaments a year. So they shouldn't be tired. But, sometimes they just like staying in America and not travelling that much. So, yes.
There's plenty of that to be made. Now, I know you love your footy, Pete, and you're a mad Bulldog supporter. Are you excited about the year ahead, and what did you make of their season this year?
Well, I as a Bulldog supporter, I know we've been in a bit of trouble with the salary cap and all that sort of stuff, and I'm sure they've been playing players to play at other clubs all last year. But as a Bulldog supporter, I was pretty proud of the way that they stuck at it all year. Even when they had no chance of reaching the semis, they still turned up every week and tried their backsides off, and they won those 6 or 7 games near the end against some formidable opponents. And that's, as a supporter, that's all you can ask, that they turn up every week and they have a crack, and they did. And going on the end of the season, it was really good. A bit disappointing. Foran's injured. It would have been nice to see him start the year, but I'm sure they'll work out some way around it, and hopefully they'll turn up next year and have another go.
Yeah, I think they've done that the last 3 years in a row, and always disappointed come the next season, Pete. So we probably look forward to that again in 2020.
He's a Roosters supporter.
I know.
Oh, hey, come on. The Bulldogs, the last 3 years, the last 8 games, they'll win 6 of 8. Doesn't it great?
Just because you're winning
Isn't it great
competitions.
for the next year?
Just because you're winning competitions and you're on top, you're a big noter.
Yeah.
Where are the Roosters at the moment? I think they're over in the US somewhere.
Oh,
I think
did
the
you
Roosters
read this?
We can't all afford the sombrero,
at
the
this.
celery
Yeah,
cap.
that's right,
sombrero.
yeah.
That's them, Pete.
Oh, do they have one of those? I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you, Pete. Hey, good luck for the week, and great to have you on the program.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Great to be here.
Peter Lonard there, one of the great stars of Australian golfing history. It's 20 minutes past 7 now on the Big Sports Breakfast. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with Borky with some NBA tips.